Let me tell you a quick personal story, and then we're going to get into some more fun, okay? Is it okay if I tell you a quick personal story? Okay? Just so you guys can get to know me, because we're going to spend a whole year together, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm going to get to introduce you to some of my friends and some of the people I get to learn from. And we're going to do a lot of really cool advanced training, so that way you know how to affect your teammates with not only your body, but your thoughts, okay? But what happened to me was had those two big dreams. The reason why I'm here today is because I wanted to go play softball in college. I worked really hard. I'm from North Texas. I grew up just right down the street. I went to Birdville High School. People told me I had the slow gene. I was too short, too slow. Definitely not Division I material, okay? But I'm likable, right? Had a good personality. So I planned an unofficial visit tour. I built some relationship with some coaches. I went to visit the coach I was interested in, shook his hand, built a relationship. He watched me play and said, yeah, I want you on my team. I got a partial academic scholarship, a partial athletic scholarship. I get to my dream school in New York City, right? Where I can make movies and I can play softball. Super cool, right? We ran across the Brooklyn Bridge for like our cardio. I'm like running in New York. This is the coolest thing. And it was freezing cold. I'm from Texas, right? So I was like not used to pulling ice off the tarp. But when I got there, I thought when I got to college, that's when I would feel confident. How many of you have this belief that I will be confident when fill in the blank? Like, I'll be confident when I pitch 60 miles an hour. I'll be confident when I finally make the varsity team. I'll be confident when coach finally gives me a chance to start. I'll be confident when. How many of you guys have a I will be confident when fill in the blank statement? Anybody have one they want to share? I'll be confident when fill in the blank. Somebody over here, just yell it out. I'll be confident when I make a diving play, which in the beginning, remember, like that's when you get to be confident. Well, it's going to take some confidence for you to make the diving play. So how do you make the diving play if you don't have the confidence? It's like a trap, right? It's so tricky. So when I got to college, I was like, oh, I'll be confident when I get to college. And I got there and I was like, oh. Now all of a sudden I'm comparing myself to my teammates from California that are twice my height, basically, right? Stronger than me, faster than me. And I get that little voice in my head that says, oh, maybe coach made a mistake. Maybe I wasn't supposed to be on this team. I have to prove myself. And even though I was feeling all this stress on the inside, on the outside, everything's fine. Everything's great. I love it here. This is amazing. This is my dream. I'm living my dream. But something was off inside of me. And I call that voice and the way that I was acting, I call that the imposter. And the imposter is that mask we sometimes wear where we pretend to be confident and pretend everything's okay, but inside it's really not. You guys know what I'm talking about? And on the other side of my personality, I had this other voice. And this other voice I call the rooster. How many of you have ever felt like you're on a team and you're the only one that really cares? Like you're the one that like puts in extra work. Maybe it's not softball. Maybe it's something else in your life, but maybe it's your schoolwork. Maybe it's something else like, man, I care about this so much. And you're frustrated because maybe you're the one with the slow gene, but you're kicking everybody's butts in sprints. And you're like, I don't get it. Why am I beating them? Like, why am I here early? Why am I staying late? And that roosters crow, but they don't lay eggs, right? Roosters make a lot of noise. And so when I was in college, I was like, man, my teammates are going out and partying. They're going out and drinking. They're skipping class. They're not putting in the extra work. And I don't even think I'm going to get any playing time because I'm a freshman. I was a freshman. Coach was trying to protect me. Coach was giving me an opportunity to learn. Coach was giving me an opportunity to get me settled in school. He saw things and knew things I didn't. But in that moment where I was mad because I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm ever going to get any playing time. There's this sophomore catcher above me that goes and she ends up playing professionally. She's really good. But I'm like, I'm never going to get a chance. Like, this is not my dream. This isn't what I expected. So I've got these two voices, the imposter and the rooster, and they're pulling and they're pulling and they're pulling. And I can't let go. I don't know what to do with these two voices inside of me. Everything's fine. I'm angry. Everything's fine. I'm angry. What do you think happens to me? Say it loud. I tear, break down, right? How many of you guys have ever, maybe in the last couple of years, you got to this place where you're like, I just can't anymore. Felt like I just can't anymore? I just can't anymore. That's where I got. I'm like, what's the point? What is the point? And I was like, well, I guess everybody else is having fun because I'm looking at social media and hearing everything. I'm like, I just want to be like everybody else. I just want to go have fun. I'm putting all this pressure, all this stress on myself. Like, you know what? Everybody else is going out to have drinks. I will too. So I go out, have some drinks. That night in the dorms, I'm attacked. I'm assaulted. I'm hurt in a way you can't see on the outside. Go to my coach. They send me to the police. Go to the hospital. Team goes to practice. I can't practice. I try. Eventually, a week or two later, I get up out of my classes. I picked up the phone, called my mom. And when I called my mom, I was like, hey, Mom, here's what happened to me. And she said, Jen, we love you. We're sorry. We think you should come home. So think about that. Think about the big dream you have, right? The thing that you're working for, the thing that you're like putting everything you have, everything you sacrifice towards. You do extra buckets with your dad at the field, or you give up birthday parties or things, and you come here, right, Maya? Right? And you're so committed to this dream, and then you get there and it's not what you expect, and then overnight it's gone. Now I tell you the story because, first of all, today my life is amazing. I love my life today. I do work I love with people I love. Like, I live my dream. It took me 7 years to get through a bunch of crap, but like now I get to travel the world. I get to hang out with cool people. I get to make movies. I get to talk to cool people. I get to fly cool places. Like, I love my life today. But there was a time when I didn't think I could get through it. There was a time when I felt like I was all alone. And so I don't know for you if it's an injury, if it's you've lost a loved one, if your parents are going through financial stress and you're having to give things up and sacrifice or have to figure out another way to make things happen. But we all go through something tough. And it's not always what's on the softball field, right? Softball can sometimes be our escape. It's like, man, when you're on the field, like in that moment when that 60-mile-an-hour fastball is coming at you, you're not thinking about all the other stuff. And so I call my mom. She's like, Jen, we think you should come home. And so while my team flew to Florida to kick off their best season ever, I flew home. And the hardest part about leaving school was not that I lost my scholarship or lost the dream of living in New York City. The hardest part of being there in that moment was I lost my identity. I was like, who am I? If I can't be confident because I made it here, because I got that scholarship and I proved everybody wrong, then when do I get to feel that? When do I actually get to like who I am and myself and be proud of something? And so I figured, well, if it's not what I do, if it's not the fact that I can hit home runs or steal bases or throw girls out at second, how many of you guys are like, you feel confident when you strike girls out, when you hit the home run, when you get somebody, but you're confident because of your ability of what you can do. Raise your hand if you're confident because of your ability of what you can do. Okay? Cool. How many of you guys, when you get a brand new bat, that's not the brand new one, you get a brand new bat, you get a brand new glove, you're like, I got the brand new bat now. Now you feel confident because you got the best, the latest, and greatest, and you know that it's got more pop in it. How many of you guys feel confident when you get a new thing, right? So I figured if it's not what you do, it must be what you have. So, my plan was, I'm just going to get real, real rich. That's what I thought. I was like, I'm going to get so wealthy. I'm going to have so much money. I'm going to make so much money. If I can make $1 million by the time I'm 21, I figured all that pain, all that struggle will be worth it. So I got obsessed with hanging out with people that I thought were successful. Right? So I hung out with people that had big businesses. I built a business and I did a deal with a guy on Shark Tank. I sold a business. I was doing some cool stuff. A lot of the people I was hanging out with, they had private jets, right? They could fly anywhere they wanted to. They could buy whatever they wanted to. But you know what I found out hanging out with these quote unquote successful people that seemed to have it all? They still had those two voices inside their head. They still had that voice that was like, I have to prove myself. And they still had the voice of feeling like they were the only ones who cared. And I'm like, I don't get it. If it's not what you do and it's not what you have, when is it that I get to feel great and get to feel confident? When does that happen? How many of you guys are like, man, I asked you this at the beginning, but I want to ask you again now. How many of you guys, man, if I was just a little more confident, things in my life would be easier or better? Maybe it's with your friendships. Maybe it's talking to people. Maybe it's in a class. A school subject. Maybe it's on the field. Maybe it's talking to a coach. Maybe it's in having an important conversation with your parents. You feel like you could go and you could do that thing and it wouldn't affect who you are, where people see you. You wouldn't feel judged. How many of you guys wish that you had a little bit more confidence so you weren't so scared of what people think about you? Okay? So I'm on this mission. I'm like, I got to learn from somebody who doesn't care what people think. And so I start meeting these really cool people, great athletes, good careers. One of the people I met, her name was Natalie Cook. Natalie Cook was in the Olympics 5 times. You remember Natalie Cook? Natalie Cook was in the Olympics 5 times. If you're in the Olympics 5 times, how long are you in the Olympics for? Say it. 20 years, because it's every 4, yeah. So I meet Natalie, and I'm telling her my story, and Natalie's like, Jen. She's from Australia. By the way, Australians are crazy, right? You guys watch the Olympics? Yeah? Let me do my impersonation, okay? You got Team USA. USA, USA, USA. And then you got Canada. And I have so many friends in Canada. Go, Canada, go. Go, Canada, go. Go, Canada, go. And then you got the Aussies. And the Aussies are like, Aussie, 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 oi, 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 Aussie, 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 oi, oi. Like they are nuts, okay? So Natalie is like a 7-foot tall crazy Aussie, right? Super intense. She's like, Jen, you got it all wrong. What makes you deserve to be confident? It isn't what you do. It's not the fact that I can spike the ball. No, sorry. It's not the fact of what you have. It's not that I got this really sick car. No, what makes you deserve to be confident is not what you do. It's not what you have. It's who you are. Seems super simple, super basic. But when you're in the middle of something struggling, something tough, sometimes we forget who we are. I certainly did. I'm like, well, who am I? I'm not a Division I college softball player. You guys are all part of American freedom. You have a mission. You have somebody you represent. Right? Who you are is somebody that cares about your teammates. Who you are is somebody who chooses to always give your best. Who you are is someone who decides to act from confidence and act from courage and care about people and want to help them, help people that can't help themselves, right? Who you are is somebody caring and giving and life-giving, right? And sometimes we forget that. How many of you during the pandemic would have given anything just to be in the dugout to give your friends a hug? Just to be able, and I know there was a time when like you guys were out anyway, it's not a big deal, but there was a time when you felt isolated, when you didn't know what was going to happen, and all you wanted was to be with somebody that you loved, right? That's being confident because of who you are, not because of what you do, because in that moment, it didn't matter if that person could hit home runs or not. Like, I love that person because of how they make me feel, because how they show up, because they bring joy. Right? And if you're constantly focused as American freedom of the energy and the passion and the fire and the enthusiasm and the love that you bring to the dugout, you will be unstoppable as a team, because I know you've seen teams before. They get obsessed with the performance. They're like, oh my gosh, I struck out for the 3rd time in a row. What signal is that sending the teammates? Is it a smooth one or is it a jaggedy one? Jaggedy one. So back here, what I was teaching the girls the other day at Co, is there's 2 types of thought. There's 2 types of thought. Maybe. There's the thought of what's called coherence, which is smooth like this. And there's the one that's incoherence, which is jaggedy, like that. When you are in a state of coherence and smooth like this, that is being in the zone. Like if they were going to put a machine on your brain and look at your brain waves when you're in flow and you're in the zone and everything is easy, it would look like this. If it was whenever you're struggling and you're striking out and you're frustrated, frustration looks like this. Well, think about that. Your heart or your brain, it sends electrical signals to your heart, and your heart pumps those electrical signals to your muscles. If your heart is like a horse and your brain is like a jockey, think about a horse and a jockey. If the horse is going wild like this, what's the ride for the jockey going to be like? What is it going to be like? Bumpy, right? It's not going to be very smooth. But if the horse and the jockey can be smooth together, the horse will go faster and straighter, and it'll be like in flow. So what happens is when our brain and our heart are disconnected, we waste energy in our body. We're not fluid. That's whenever you strike out. That's when everything goes down the hill. It's because it feels frustration. So if you want to be in coherence, if you want to be smooth, if you want to be in flow, you have to learn how do you create that in your brain. And you create that by being in a state of gratitude. It's hard to fake being happy. If you're fake happy, if you're the imposter and you're wearing a mask, what's actually happening on the inside is still frustration, doubt, fear. Am I good enough? Am I having to prove myself? That's the jaggedy line, which means is your performance going to be good or bad? Bad. If you can focus on, oh my gosh, I'm living in New York City. I get to run across the Brooklyn Bridge everything's amazing. Yeah, my teammates are doing some stuff, but how cool is it that I have this opportunity to live in this really cool place? And I get to a state of gratitude. I get to a state of flow. Does my performance decrease or increase? Increase, right? You want to be in a state of coherence. So what I'm going to share with you guys today is going to seem super simple. But everything I'm going to share with you today is going to show you how do you get from frustration to gratitude, from anger to joy, from feeling super isolated and not confident to totally being in love and having your best season ever. Sound good?